Hi there, Heidi from the Whimsical Workshop. I want to talk about rotary cutters today. There are lots of different types of rotary cutters on the market. I have a few favorites that I want to talk about and just the different features that each rotary cutter style has. The first rotary cutter style is a straight handle style. This is a 28 millimeter. This is a 45 millimeter. This is an AccuQuilt brand. This is Olfa brand. The difference between the brands, or the styles, is straight handle. There is the ergonomic trigger handle one. And then Martelli has one that has a funky bend to it, so you use it and it's a little easier on your wrist. And so these are the three styles that I am mostly familiar with, so I want to talk about them with you. The straight handle style was originally designed by Olfa. It's a Japanese company about 40 years ago, I think 41 years ago now. And this was groundbreaking for quilting because it let you cut fabric without having to use scissors with a ruler and a straight edge. And you got straighter cuts, cleaner cuts, so that's why quilters love rotary cutters. There are other techniques in quilting that you don't need to use it, but the majority of quilting you will need to get yourself a very good rotary cutter. The straight handle is lovely because you can change, you don't have to do anything. It's a lefty or a righty. It is easy with the slide down to expose the blade. I am not a huge fan of these because of how easy it is just to slide down and leave the blade exposed. And the only way to uncover it is to push the lever. I go around class a lot and start just closing covers on people's cutters because you never want to set it down and have the blade exposed. So that is a drawback for me. It is a feature for others, but that is the straight handle. If you do get a straight handle, I did a video about how to change your blades and how to get all the pieces and parts back together. But Olfa came out with quick change blade one. So this is the traditional, it's totally straight. And then this is the quick change. They actually gave you more of an ergonomic grip. It has a little red trigger on the back. So to do this, you can push the trigger, the blade and the front piece will come out. To put it back together, you put the blade on, put it back on the handle, and push the trigger up, and there it is. So if you end up going with the straight style, Olfa has come out with quick change for several sizes. So I recommend getting this one if you're going to go with a straight handle. Now my favorite one is the Deluxe ergonomic handle one. I've been using this rotary cutter since it came out. I started with the straight handle the first couple of years I was quilting, and then I moved on to this one. As an industrial designer, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's so ergonomic, it's easy to grip. It has a trigger handle to expose the blade, so when you squeeze the handle, the blade comes up. Release the handle, the blade goes down. Again, I love it because every time I put it down on the table, the blade is closed. That being said, this little red button here, you can push the trigger out, lock it with the button. You can leave your blade out without having to squeeze the trigger. But then you have the same issue if you set it down, you've exposed your blade. So I don't ever lock it open, but you can. So when you have it with the blade in the handle and protected, you can also hit the red button, and that keeps the trigger action from not working. So the lock is really a nice feature for travel when you have it sitting around and you're not using it. You should lock it so that no one else can just come along and actually bump it. But this is my favorite rotary cutter. It has a nice grip handle. This is my #1 recommendation for a rotary cutter. They do make smaller ones and bigger ones, but this is the 45 millimeters, the size you're going to need for most of your cutting, and it's the most comfortable handle. Then the Martelli one is very cool because you can roll it. It has a guard on it, and when you roll it, the guard pops up and you can cut. And then you have to push the guard back on. This one is nice because if you have trouble with your shoulder, it puts a lot less strain on your shoulder and on your wrist. But I found it complicated to change the blades. That was a kind of a deal breaker for me, but I don't need it for my wrist and my shoulder. So depending on your needs, you may like the Martelli wrist one. I recommend you have 3 sizes. I use the 45mm one all the time for cutting standard cotton. Anytime I'm doing a regular project, this is the cutter. I leave this one on my cutting table all the time. Then they have a 60mm one, so you can see the difference in size. Let's go that way. Difference in size. This one is great for cutting batting, fleece, minky for sure. Anything thick, I break out this one. Also, if you are a shop or you are a small business and you need to do pre-cuts, we will stack fabric pretty high for a pre-cut. This will go through more layers of fabric. The maximum on this one would be 10 layers of fabric or 5 pieces folded. This one you can get a lot more out of it. So I keep this one on hand, so I do have it. And then the third one I would add to your quilting tools is the 28mm. And I would recommend the quick change if you're just buying it. I've had this one for years. I love the 28mm for cutting small things, triangles, templates. I love this ruler from Creative Grids that is a Circle Savvy ruler. Here it is. You can see it up close. And it has these little grooves in it. And the bigger blade will work, but the smaller blade just slides in the groove so much easier. And there's quite a few different types of rulers out there that have these grooves cut in it. So anytime I have a ruler with grooves that I need to follow with a blade, I break out my 28mm. So to recap, I recommend 3 sizes. The first size is 45mm. The second size, if you can only have 2, I would go with the 28mm. I use that more. And then the final size is the 60mm. So now I want to talk a little bit about the brands. There are lots of brands out there doing the straight handle style. I have not seen the ergonomic style in another brand, but the straight handle one you can see in a lot of different brands. I prefer Olfa. I am an Olfa girl through and through because they are so well made. And their blades are so well made. You have to remember, they invented this, so they came up with it. They know how to make it work the best. I recently bought blades from a competitor on accident. I didn't mean to pick them up, but I got them, and I ended up changing my blade every project. Where with the Olfa blades, I can get 2 to 3 projects, even more sometimes. So the blades are as important as the cutter you buy. Now, you bought another competitor's cutter, you can put Olfa blades in it. They're all interchangeable. 45mm blades will fit in all of them. Same blades will fit in this guy. So think about one, who you're buying your cutter for, and make sure you like the way it holds in your hand, because you're going to be cutting for sometimes an hour or 2, and that's a long time to put strain on your arm. So make sure you like it. And 2, make sure that you're buying a quality blade that is going to last. There's nothing worse than having a blade not work, you have to change it after a project, or it's dull when you get it out of the package, or they stick together because of the oil they use. So go with a high quality blade and a high quality cutter. So I hope this all helps you as you decide what cutters work for you. And if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit like and subscribe below.